In this lesson, we are going to explore the color wheel and paint some circles with our own color combinations. So have your journal, your paints, a couple of brushes, water, paper towel, and then you might also want your watercolor crayons and watercolor pencils nearby. So start by getting your brush wet and painting a red circle on the top of your page. We're going to make our own color wheel. We start with the color red. So we have red is a primary color. So we're starting with the 3 primary colors. We're going to go with red. Next, we're doing yellow. Now, I'm not really doing a lot of mixing right now since we're using these pan colors. So just find, I'll do a little mixing for you, but right now we're doing yellow. So pick your yellow, see how vibrant you want it. The more paint, the less water, the more bright it's going to be. And blue. These are our 3 primary colors. So it seems basic, it is basic, but sometimes we forget. We learn this probably in first grade, and sometimes if you're not used to using the color wheel, we just need a little bit of a reminder. So the 3 primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, and what makes them the primary colors is they're really those 3 colors that can't be mixed to make those colors. They are what they are, and we always start with a combination of red, yellow, and blue. So those are called the primary colors. Okay. Now, we're not going to mix ours, but I want you to just understand that you can start mixing colors, and that's going to be really fun in this class as you get more comfortable with painting. So red and yellow make orange. So you can either mix that or just find an orange on your palette right now. And let's go ahead and paint our orange in the center of those 2 colors. Leave a little space because we're actually going to mix more colors in just a moment here. So I just want this to be pretty vibrant orange. Okay. So when you mix red and yellow, you get orange. This is the secondary color. So we've done the primary colors. Now we're moving on to the secondary colors. When we mix yellow and blue, we get green. So find your green or mix the color if you're feeling really inspired to mix your own colors right now. Go ahead and do that. Okay. Next is blue and red make purple. Okay. That's kind of a muddy purple, but you get the idea. Okay. So we have our primary colors and our secondary colors. They're also called complementary. So every secondary color is a complementary color to the primary color. So the complementary color for red is opposite the color wheel, that's green. Complementary color for purple is opposite, it's yellow. And the complementary for orange is the opposite, it's blue. So a lot of times when you start experimenting with color, you might play around with complementary colors because you're generally going to know that they will go nicely together. One thing that we will play around with more in this class, but I'm going to show you just a little bit. If we are, let's just start with red. If I am going to paint with red, I might start with a pretty vibrant red. But I might choose to have a little bit less value. The less color, the more water, the lighter the value. So in watercolor, what's so beautiful is you can get all these different values of the same color. So you see the difference already. When you're painting with watercolor, generally you start with the lighter color and you can then build on that. You can start kind of going from light to dark. So sometimes when these colors fade, they'll make really great backgrounds, and then I can go in and add more vibrant color on top. So that's hue is the actual color, and then value is the how bright it is. So the more paint, less water. Now I can use and just start painting with more water to get lighter and lighter value. Okay, so again, like I said, this is very basic beginning information about the color wheel, but you'll have fun incorporating some of this into your art journaling. Okay, now we are going to mix some colors. So let's play around with mixing red, orange. So you'll get a little bit of red on your brush. Use your palette. If you don't have a palette that came with your brush or your paints, mine are like this. So if you don't have something like that, you can use a paper towel, paper plate, or even a real plate. So find something that works for you. So I'm going to mix some red with orange to get more of a red-orange. Red-orange. So if I wanted a little bit more orange, if I want a little bit more red, so whatever the color that I'm going for, I will add a little bit more of that color. So you're going from red to red-orange to orange, and now I'm going to go from orange to orange-yellow. So mixing a little bit of orange. And just play with it. This isn't a perfect thing we're doing. We're doing it in kind of an art journal style, really loose and experimental. Okay, so I just kind of want to paint and see what maybe a yellow or an orange yellow would look like. Now, I'm kind of keeping a little bit of the line because you know what happens with watercolor. They start to blend together when you paint when it's not fully dry. And we're going to actually do an exercise in just a minute to kind of show that, painting wet on wet, wet on dry. Okay, but I love things that blend together. So I'm going to go ahead and let them blend. All right, now I'm going from yellow to a yellow-green. So see if you can just grab some yellow and then grab some green. And don't worry if you're mixing on the actual pan because, on the actual color, because it's watercolor. It's very forgiving. It's going to wash off. And if you really wanted to I'm really messy with my paints. When I'm done, I can wash all this off and get it back to fresh again. So don't worry if you kind of mix. See how my yellow has green in it? That's okay. That can get cleaned up. So some of you will even want to, get a different brush. But for now, I'm just playing. So that looks too much green for me. So I want to now add more yellow. I want to make a yellow green. And this is just going to help you get comfortable experimenting with mixing color. Because sometimes you're going to look at your palette and go, gosh, I don't see a color that I want. I see blue and I see green, but I want like a green blue. So let's try that. Let's get our green going here. And let's mix it with more blue. Ooh, more blue. See? And you're just getting different colors. It's so fun. Put a little blue, more blue in there. Ooh, and that's the color I want, right? When I'm painting, even though I might not see it on my palette. All right, now I'm going from blue to purple. So I'm going to do blue-purple. So I'm going to take that blue that I just had, and I'm going to mix it with my purple here and get more of a blue-purple. See? Kind of fun, almost gray. That's pretty cool. I like that color. And then I'm going to experiment. Maybe I just want a little bit more purple. Right? All right, now I'm going from purple to red. So I want to make a purple with red. Purple red, which is different than just pure red. It's got more of a cool color, cool tone to it. Purple red. Okay. You see my circles aren't perfect. It doesn't matter. We're just playing with our colors right now. So if you want to pause this video and just play around with mixing colors a little bit, use this simple color wheel as your beginning. Remember that the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, you can't mix to get those colors. So you start with those first. Then we have the secondary colors when we mix red and yellow to get orange, yellow and blue to get green, and blue and red to get purple. And then we start playing with the different colors, mixing the red with the orange to get that red-orange, right? And all the way through the circle. So the opposite colors are complementary. Think about this in terms of harmony. When we talk about avoiding making that muddy, color on our paper, a lot of it has to do with letting our colors dry and not introducing too many colors at once. But also, if you think about the rainbow, you can see if I split this down the middle, we've got the warm colors on this side and we've got the blue colors on this side, the cool colors. There's also a harmony. Our eyes really love to see colors transition from most like colors. So the colors that are the most like each other and then kind of blending into, the other colors. So if you go straight from red to blue, that can be a little shocking. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But just think about that when you're looking at your page and you feel like, there's just something missing. There's not a lot of harmony here. Think about kind of mixing some colors or helping aid the eye to kind of go from like colors to like colors. So generally when I paint a lot of greens, I'm typically going to add a little bit more blues. If I start with purples, maybe moving into that purple red or purple blue, but kind of, painting like similar colors. However, then you might see that there's no contrast in your painting, and so then you might want to add more of a complementary color. So if you're doing a lot of blue and green, maybe then a splash of orange to add contrast. Okay, so that's where we're going to start with the color wheel. So you can pause, play around, and then we're going to get into our next lesson. I'm going to do it in the same video though. So what I want you to do, we're going to do two things. One, we're going to just simply play with being loose with circles and picking two complementary colors. So you're either going to play with the red and the greens, and it doesn't have to be just the red. It can be these reds here and the greens, or you could do the blues with the orange or the purple with the yellow. And do that first. Pick which two colors you're most drawn to. I think for me today, I'm going to go with blue and oranges. So there is no thinking involved in this process. Right now, we were doing a little thinking about the color wheel, but now we're going to take a breath. We're going to look at the palette. We're going to pick our two complementary colors. And we're going to make circles. And we're going to be loose with it. So find a brush that you like to paint with. And start with the first color you're drawn to. I'm drawn to this blue here. So I'm going to just start drawing, painting circles. Okay, you can do this right along with me. You might color them in, you might use the tip of the brush, you might play around with different shades of blue, you might even play with different sizes of circles. What about changing your brush? What about mixing a little bit? So I'm not giving this much thought. I just want to play. Okay. I'm going to switch brushes now just to get different color. But I'm using the complementary color, the opposite of blue. Maybe a different shade of orange. I want to play around with value, so I'm going to use a lot less water. I'm sorry, I'm actually going to do a little bit, well, here, let's see. That's pretty. Now remember, when you are blending colors that are wet, you're going to have a different effect. You see how this is kind of blending in together? So if you don't like that, then just pause for a minute and let it dry. I'm going to mix a couple different oranges now. And so what I was trying to show you is, like, if I just continue to use that orange with just water and less color, see how much lighter it is. Okay, so continue to just play around with your circles, maybe doing different sizes, using different brushes, mixing your blues, your oranges. No right ways, maybe filling in some circles. And when you start to look at your painting, you might just start to see where something feels out of balance. Where can you bring a little bit more harmony into your painting? If you have a lot of the same size circles, can you switch it up a little bit? If there's a lot of mess down here, you know, maybe you could kind of bring that up to the top. Like, just play around, let it dry, and then continue seeing where your circles. I love this. See this? So when I see that right now, I'm like, ooh, I really want like more of that mixture. So how can I get that? I'm going to experiment. Ooh, this is a different blue. Let's see what this blue is, if I get it, you know. I want it to really blend. I want it to do something fun. Ooh, I love that. Okay, so just kind of like, you know, adding. And you see how when I just added the darker blue, it really started to add more contrast to my paint. Okay, so this is where we just, you know, can go for hours just having fun. What happens, since I like that blue, I'm just going to say, and this might scare you, but I'm just going to splatter because it's just paper, right? I'm not going to get too attached here to my painting. Because I just think it's kind of fun to see what happens. So I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then I'll come back and play some more. You can also get creative with your crayons and your colored pencils and add a little bit more contrast to your circles. If you like that crayon look, you'd use less water. If you want it to blend in more, you would get the crayon wet. You know, I kind of like a combo of both. So again, just playing here. Kind of looks like space. I'm going to play now with my blue. Sorry if you hear my kids screaming in the background. So I'm just going to keep playing, right? Another thing I like to do, I've shown you this before, but I really do love playing with pencils. And this is a graphite pencil, and just being kind of messy with them. So I might just kind of like, you know, outline some things, or kind of scribble, maybe even like draw a few circles. You can see how I'm holding my pencil, not, you know, it's just playing. I'm just playing. I just don't really have an idea of what I'm doing. Just want to play. Okay. So experiment. You can do that same thing with your colored pencils. Maybe I grab one of my colored pencils in this same color and just kind of, doodle around it. I might let this dry a little bit and then come back with some black pens or white or gold, to play around, but to create some harmony too with these colors. Okay, so that's your first assignment here with these circles. And because I'm going to do this all in the same video, I'm going to, just for video purposes, I'm going to dry this a little bit. Okay, now let me just show you a couple other circles. Oh, this is fun. So this is something you can also do this week after you've played. Now you see I broke free from doing the complementary colors, and I just started going with cool. And then adding black and playing around. I'm not done with this, but it just was really fun to just do blobs of circles and then start, doodling with lines in my black pen. So that's something that you can play around with once you're having fun with those circles. Now this one is cool. This is same thing that I just showed you with the purple and the yellow. Okay, so this is what we're going to do next. Okay, so go ahead and get a fresh piece of paper. And if you are still painting along with me, make sure that your water is refreshed as well. And we are going to grab a pencil. With your pencil, you're going to draw circles. So just pick a page to work on. And draw circles, variety of sizes that overlap a little bit, okay? So if you really need, something to trace, you could grab a glass. I have this little pot right here. You could trace, around that. I'm not going to get really accurate with my circles, but you might feel the desire to do that. So draw maybe... Definitely not accurate with my circles here. I don't know, 5 to 7 circles. Okay. Once you've drawn your circles, make sure that you get fresh water and start with a brush. Let's see, this is a size 8, so a smaller brush might be a little helpful with this type of exercise. And what we're going to do, I'd like to draw one more little circle here. Okay, so with this exercise, when you think about that color wheel, pick colors that are close to each other on the wheel. So if you're going to go with reds, do reds, orange. You could even do purple, keeping with those colors, or you could do the greens and the blues. I'm going to go with, let's see here. Let's see what this is. I don't like that. Let's do green. Okay. And what you're going to do is start to paint inside your circle. And remember, with watercolor, wherever the water is where the paint goes. So the water I'm keeping right now inside my circle. Okay. So I kind of want it to be different values just to give it a little interest. So you can see that I have more water, I'm lightening it up, more color up here. I'm not overthinking this at all. Oops. If you get out of the lines, it's fine. Okay. But I want to create a little balance. So I'm going to use that same color somewhere else on my circle. So wherever you want your brush to go, just continue to paint. You can do this right along with me. Okay. I'm not being very accurate because I want to kind of go a little quickly for you, but you take your time. Take your time and have fun with this. So you're just going to play around, filling in your circle. You can change the brushes up. I was just using a smaller brush when I was trying to get a little bit more accurate. You'll see how that matters here as we start painting into those smaller parts of the overlap. Okay. So some of this you might actually have to let dry. If you're planning to paint close to the wet colors, you'll wait, or just start painting in places that aren't going to blend into those other colors and try another color. So I'm going to go with this purple, and I'm just going to go in here. And we're doing a couple of things with this exercise. One, we're just kind of playing around with what it feels like to use different sized brushes, what it feels like to actually paint inside, getting a little bit of that hand control as you're trying to be a little bit more accurate. You just saw me do very loose circles on that last video. And so now we're just kind of like, oh, what's it feel like to paint a little bit more controlled? And I like that purple. I'm going to try to go for, let's do a little more vibrant up here. And play around with painting using the tip of your brush, and also flattening the brush a little bit using the side of the brush. Okay, so I like that. So I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and I'm going to go on to my next color. I'm going to play around with a blue. I'm actually going to use a different brush. Let's see. I like this blue. But I kind of want to play around with mixing. So I'm going to mix this. I'm going to do like a blue-green. Mix a little bit like we did on our color wheel. And if it's too much of my green, I want a little more blue here. Whoops. Yeah, that's cool. All right, so you can see that may not be a color that's on your palette, but it's one that I mixed. And as you continue to paint, you're going to start to find your favorite colors, especially when you start mixing. Okay, but you don't have to mix right now. You really don't. Just have fun painting. So, still playing with my circle, kind of being messy with it. And then once you paint these without hearing my voice, it can be very peaceful, really meditative. There's just something really peaceful and calming and relaxing about painting circles. So I'd really encourage you, once you've gotten the idea of this video, to turn it off, put on your favorite tunes, and just play around with painting circles, loosely or more controlled. Now, I'm looking at this and I'm feeling like I want a little contrast. And if you remember, the opposite of purple is yellow, the opposite of green is red, the opposite of blue is orange. I'm going to just go with a little bit of yellow, but because I want to create some harmony with my piece, I want to keep it a similar hue. So I'm going to do a yellow-green. I've already used green. Let's see what that does. That's more green. I want a little more yellow. And now I'm being risky here because I'm kind of painting in an area that's not quite dry. So, depending on what look you're going for, you can also keep a little bit of white around where you're painting, which actually gives it kind of a cool effect. So truly, we're just experimenting here, okay? We're just still playing around with how colors work, how our brush works. If I like painting wet on wet, or if I like the dry on dry. See how it's blending? I like that, but you may not. Okay. I still want a little more contrast, so I'm gonna go for this orange here. Let's see. So as I'm painting this, part of me is, wanting to go a little quickly for you all. But my inner critic's like, I don't really like these color combinations. And that's okay. That's so normal for us to criticize what we're doing. And it's okay to not like it. It's okay. We're not going to like everything we create, especially when we're just experimenting, right? But what's really fun is that after I let this dry, like I already feel like, ooh, I want to add some different circles. I want to play around with this. And that's where the fun really happens. So put on your favorite music and see where it takes you. I also really like using colored pencils and crayons when my paint is still a little wet. So I'm just like, well, what happens if I just kind of outline this? Real messy here. I like that. Okay, and then you're just going to play. See where your circles take you. Have so much fun. If you're feeling tense, breathe, relax, ground yourself. Remember, this is just paper. And if you don't like a page, leave it. You might build on it later and start again. Try something else. Try different color combinations. Find what you like. Find what really resonates with you as you're experimenting here. And then start to just kind of be aware of the harmony in a page. We're playing now, but we're also looking for harmony. What looks good together? What resonates with me? What about this do I love? Do I like when things dry and really look particular? Or do I like when things mix and look, totally organic? That's the self-awareness that comes out of these types of exercises. Have fun, and I can't wait to see all of your circles.